Hello and welcome back to my second video on how you can play Space Engineers. Today we're going to continue where we left off. But first I need to correct something, which is me blundering with the solar panel setup. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, I got the rotor and the hinge mixed up. So let's go to the custom turret controller and correct my mistake. We look at the screen, press K, scroll down and temporarily turn off solar tracking. And now we go to azimuth, which is horizontal, and set to that the rotor. While on the selection called elevation, you should set the hinge. And now let's turn solar tracking back on. And with that, the solar panels are working as intended. The O2 generator. This is a very important block. It uses ice and turns it into hydrogen and oxygen. One is used for fuel, the other is used to breathe. Let's place the O2 generator in our hotbar and place it on the base. This is the large grid version of the O2 generator. Ignore the fact it was blue. I was playing a different save and apparently it carried over to the tutorial. Anyway, let's put it on the base. Then this is how it looks in small grid for those who are curious. And for those who are curious about how to paint blocks, I won't explain that here, but I will show this. Hold your selected block to a block of a particular color, and then press Shift P. As you now see, the O2 generator is the same color as the refinery on the base. This is the color picker. That now being done, let's now finally begin putting an O2 generator on the base. Just like before, we'll go to the cargo container, and we will Control-click on steel plates, and let's build this O2 generator. Just like before, place down the block, right-click to put it in the build planner, go to any cargo access, click on this button to see if we have components. We don't have enough. Then we click on this button to build more components. And whilst the components are being assembled, let's gather some ice. Let's go here, crouch down, and left-click drill to gather some ice. Let's put it in the cargo container for now, and wait for the assembler to finish assembling our components. And the last components are being built. Done. Click this button to get our components, and let's assemble the O2 generator. And through the power of editing, it's done. As you can see, the O2 generator has already taken that ice and the cargo container into its own inventory. Next, let's take some of these interior plates and build some conveyor with it. Yes, this game also has a conveyor system. Yes, conveyor piping, to be in fact. Let's take the conveyor junction with the plus symbol, go on top of the O2 generator, and with our mouse wheel we can scroll through the different options. Let's take the curved conveyor tube, place it on top. Now we will select a straight piece and place it down. Same process as before. Right-click on the two blocks and repeat the process to queue up all the components. While those components are being built, let me explain what I'm planning to do. I want to build a small ship, but it also needs a place to dock. And by placing some tubes, I've taken the first step in doing that. Quick tip, as long as a conveyor piece is placed but not yet built, you still have access to the cargo hatch, what it's connected to. Once it's built, you can't access the cargo system anymore. Uh-oh, we have a little problem. The assembly of components has stopped. What can be the reason? And here's the reason. I'm out of iron. I'll need to go out and dig up some more. Easy enough. Let's just go towards a marker where we have found some ore. If you remember from the previous video, Fe is iron on the periodic table. So, let's dig down with right-click drill this time to dig down. Once you hit the vein, stop right-click drilling, and then begin left-click drilling to mine out some ore. Bonus tip, if you hold F whilst doing this, you will also collect the ore at the same time. My inventory indicator is in the red, that means it's almost full. Let's just now go back and continue our work, shall we? I got an energy low warning. We best get to the survival kit and recharge. Let's place the ores in the cargo container so that the refinery can refine into iron. And let's go to the survival kit on the rover to recharge. While I'm recharging, let's have a quick reminder that your survival kit is also your respawn point. There's also combat in this game, and if you die, you respawn at your respawn point, which is the survival kit. If your survival kit is destroyed, you will not be able to respawn, and it's more or less do-over. Now that I'm recharged and ready to go, let's take the components from the inventory from the base and finish these pipes. As you can see, yet again, new blocks have been unlocked because I built a piece of conveyor. That takes me now to the next step in building our docking station for our ship we will be building. Because building that conveyor unlocked this, the connector. Connectors allow you to connect things, such as ships to stations. As you can see on Large Grid, it is not really cheap. It's over 130 steel plates. And it comes in 3 variants. 2 with a big port, 1 with a small port. In Small Grid, you have 4 variants. 2 with big ports, 2 with small ports. Let's place one with a big port on the base. This square one will do. Get some steel plate to start, and place it on the conveyor tube that we built. Rotating a block before you place it are done with the keys above the arrows. Page up, page down, home, delete, insert, escape. That being said, let's place it and build it up. Building that up took a little time. And the reason for that was not only that it had a lot of components, but we were also using the lowest tier tools available. As you can see, we have a tier 1 welder already, found in one of those drop pods. Let's take these tierless tools out of our inventory, go to production, and hit the Tools tab, and add a tier 1 grinder and a tier 1 drill. We can make these tools because 2 of them need cobalt. Let's put these tools in our inventory, hit G, go to Character Tools, and place the tier 1 welder, grinder, and drill in the slots that had our previous tools, and now we can work a little faster at the cost of slightly more power consumption. And now, I personally don't want to see these tierless tools ever again. How do we get rid of them? Easy. Let's go to production, and on the other side of the screen, let's select Deconstruct. With Deconstruct, we can turn components and tools back into raw resources at the cost of a little energy. Once you're done, set back to assembling. Now that we're finally done with that, let's finally build a ship. Let's get some steel plate and begin. But first, there's more than one way to approach beginning to construct a vehicle in Space Engineers. You can either place down a small grid landing gear, because even unbuilt it will lock to the ground, and you can build off of that. You could also do a subgrid route, which is either a rotor or a hinge. Take off the head, go into Control Panel, select the rotor or hinge, scroll down, select Add Small Head, which will place a small grid variant of the rotor head on the hinge, and build your vehicle off of that, which is personally my preferred method. One advantage, for example, is that what you're building is already powered by the base itself. But you can also do this with connectors. We'll place 2 blocks on the base connector, like so, and now let's connect the small grid connector. One problem, the small grid connector is a tad smaller, and there will be no proper connection, because they're not the same size. it needs to be at least one block higher. Therefore, we will place a single armor cube, a small one, and on top of that, let's build the connector. You know the verse, same as the first, and build it up. Let's, just in case, get some extra steel plates and interior plates, so we can put down blocks once the connector is done. First, let's build up the connector, and now let's get in the control panel of the connector we just built, and hit lock. Let's now remove the small block, and as you can see, the connector is connected to the connector on the base. Inventory system and all. Let's begin the construction. First, we will need to get a hydrogen tank, O2 generator, a cockpit, and these are only for small grid, the small conveyor system. Let's also add the battery to the hotbar. Let's begin by placing on the connector a hydrogen tank. The hydrogen tank comes in two main sizes. Small, which is this one, and large, which is this one. I personally would have liked it that also was a medium hydrogen tank. I don't know. I guess I would like more choices, and maybe they'll add one in the future. Leave a like if you agree. Anyway, let's continue. We're going to use the big tank. As you can see, it has two big ports on either end, and four small ones on the sides, top, and bottom. Let's place it on the connector, taking extra care that we properly line up the ports. If they're misaligned, or you use small to large, then the conveyor system will not connect. And on the other end, let's place this ship's own O2 generator. It has one big conveyor port on one end, and two small ones on the other end. As I said, line them up correctly, or there will be no connection between conveyor systems. And on the O2 generator, we will attach a cockpit. And now, let's place a battery, or 4. We will not choose this one though. On small grid, there are two main size of batteries. Big ones, and small ones. The big ones are a little too big for my liking, and for what I'm planning. Instead, we will take the small ones. And we'll place one here, and two more on the other side. And now, let's right-click. Let's right-click the cockpit, all the batteries, the O2 generator, and the hydrogen tank, and queue up all the components needed to build it. You can right-click select up to 8 blocks for your build planner. Now that all those components are queued up, let's head back out towards the iron mine and collect some more iron. I have a feeling we'll need a lot of it. I have found another ore patch. This one has iron and nickel. I'll just make a quick GPS. Type NI space FE. Change the color. And here, I know, is some more resources when I need them. As you can see, all the components are done. But at the same time, these are a lot of components. It'll take more than one trip. Let's begin by welding up the cockpit, the O2 generator, recharge for the so many of time, all 4 batteries, and the biggest block of them all, the hydrogen tank. It's so big, it needs 2 trips. And with that, the hydrogen tank is done. And as you can see, it's already filling up with hydrogen gas, which is fuel. While I'm collecting more ice for the purposes of fueling up the hydrogen tank, let me explain a little more clearly how important it is to regularly harvest ice. Ice, when placed in an O2 generator, will convert that ice into oxygen for breathing for the engineer, which is O2, and it also makes hydrogen as a fuel source for numerous devices in the game, also known as H2. It can be used for hydrogen engines to provide power, but it can also be used as fuel for thrusters. An O2 generator can supply either of these things with fuel. However, the more it has to supply, the less it will give. and it will only fuel them as long as it has ice in its inventory. Hence why we placed a hydrogen tank. A hydrogen tank can store all that fuel. So either hydrogen engines or thrusters can run at maximum capacity. And by supplying both O2 generators with ice on the base and on the ship we're building, it will obviously refuel the ship a bit faster. While that's happening, let's build the conveyor system. Let's take our small conveyor block and scroll until we have the T-junction. We will place it on the hydrogen tank, obviously with the middle port connected, with one end towards the back and the other towards the front. Let's keep scrolling until we have the straight piece. Until here, then we will place a full junction, and we will mirror it on the other side. Junction here, T-piece there, straight pieces in between. And build the plumbing up. While we're waiting for the components to be done, let's place some more blocks. Specifically, some mining drills. Let's go look up the ship tool blocks. Place it in our hotbar. Scroll until we find the drills. And place one here. And here. And on those drills, let's place also some small curved pieces pointing forwards. And let's build the tubing. Bit by bit by bit. Let's also do the drills, because if we don't, the pipes on the side I placed will not be piped up. Let's also get rid of this. A beautiful demonstration of the lower gravity of the moon. With that out of the way, let's finish those drills. First this one, and then that one. Now that we're this far along, let's clear out our hotbar and go to the next step of building a ship, which is the propulsion it will be using. But the question is, which propulsion system will we use? Well, we're in space, what about these fancy ion thrusters? At this point, that's not an option. Ion engines require thruster components, and thruster components can only be made in the next assembler, and we also need ores that we can't refine yet. Chief among them, platinum. So, they're a no-go. Atmospheric thrusters, maybe? Actually, no. As the name implies, they only work in atmosphere. And this is the moon. There is no atmosphere. We can make them, but they're useless here. Inversely, ion thrusters are useless in atmosphere. That leaves us only with this, the hydrogen thruster. Unlike the other two thruster types, these don't require power to function. As you can see, they have conveyor ports, so they need to be conveyed up to a fuel source, which might be a disadvantage, but the biggest pro hydrogen thrusters have is that they work everywhere. In space, in atmosphere, it doesn't care, it'll make you fly, it only cares about fuel. That all being explained, let's put them on the ship, remembering to line up the conveyor ports. If they're not working. Let's place 2 on the front for reverse. And come to think of it, I have changed my mind about the placement of this conveyor junction. With the exception of batteries, you can disassemble anything and reassemble it. If you don't like the positioning of something, tear it down, try it somewhere else, if you think it will work better there. Let's do the same on the other side so it all stays symmetrical. Yet again, our energy is low, let's just hop in the cockpit of the ship we're building and recharge there. If you're in a cockpit or a seat and it's connected to a power source, it will recharge you automatically. And in the case of this cockpit that's conveyed to a O2 generator with ice, it will also refill my oxygen and my hydrogen. Let's finish our little alteration to the ship and continue where we left off. 1 thruster here, 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 same on the other side, and 2 on the back for forward. Well, I build these up, let me explain what the reasoning is for the thruster placement. The game calculates thrust through the center of mass. This game has physics, but it's not that deep. What is important that we have thrust in all 6 directions. Thrusters pointing backwards, so we can go forwards. Thrusters pointing backwards, so we can go backwards. A thruster on the left and the right, so we can go to the right and the left. Thrusters on the bottom to go up, and thrusters on the top to go down. Thrusters in some cases going down is optional, but in space, all 6 are required. As you can see, resources were a little slim, so I got a little bit more nickel and a lot more iron. Let's see if we can go all the way. Let's dig up more ice, because the tank is still not full. Now that there's a decent supply of fuel in the ship, let's take it for a test flight. First, let's look up in the G menu this ship's connector and place it in the hotbar, and we will select the action switch lock. We hit number 3. We go forward. The ship doesn't go down. But, wait a minute. We're forgetting something. We can move the ship in all directions, but we can't turn the ship. This is what many new players encounter when they just start out with their first ship. And that is that this ship still needs a gyroscope. Without a gyroscope, we can't mouse control the ship. Without that, the ship is kinda useless. So, let's go and add that gyroscope. And it is right here. Place it in the hotbar. And initially we can place it anywhere on the ship, it will work just fine. But let's place it here, on top of the O2 generator, with the 2 circles facing forward. Build it up as usual, like this. And while we're still busy, let's add some more components. Let's add some more blocks that can be useful, such as an ore detector. It allows us to scan for ores, and I want to add an antenna, but I can't. I haven't unlocked it yet. There is one on the rover, but if I grind it down to below functional and try to weld it up again, it won't let me, because I haven't unlocked it yet. In order to unlock it, I need to build a beacon. So, let's take all the components from the antenna. It's more or less the same amount of parts. Build a beacon just as its own thing. We'll grind it down once we're done. Blocks unlocked. Now we grind it down, and we will finally build an antenna. And let's just build it here. Now, if we go into control panel and check out the antenna we just built, it is broadcasting at a 5-kilometer radius. That's also a little power hungry. Let's readjust that by click on the slider for a precise value. Let's set it to 1 kilometer, 1,000 meters. And that is a bit better. What's also a bit better, the sun has risen again and the solar panels are receiving power. Full power, thanks to the solar tracking. Let's put that power to use. Let's get in the cockpit of the ship that we're building and scroll down until we find the batteries of the ship. As you can see, they're not completely charged yet. And according to this, they'll be recharged in 16 hours. Real life hours. We don't have that time. So let's click all the small batteries of the ship, and as a group, set them to recharge. As you now see, the batteries went from green to yellow. That means they're recharging, meaning they're gonna take power, not give it. While they're recharging, let's do one final little thing on the ship. Let's get some components for that. Some glass. That will do for now. And let's go back to the G menu and select the light blocks. As you can see, we have a broad selection just for the simple lights. But placing them can be fiddly, and they can also look weird. Like here, I'm not feeling it just placing it directly onto the thruster. Let's tear it down a bit. I realize I didn't have to take down the thruster, but it's okay. take out the small conveyors again. And this time we'll scroll until we find the reinforced corner pipe. We'll place it exactly the same as before. The only real difference to this block, it also needs some steel plates, and it effectively functions as a full block, meaning I can place stuff on top of it anywhere, including that light that I want to place. Put back the thruster, weld it all up. Repeat the process on the other side. Let's place on the front a big spotlight. With this light, we can obviously see in the dark with some distance. And I want to place on the top and the bottom 2 more lights. Here and here. Let's get back in the cockpit and configure those lights. Control panel, scroll down until we find our lights. And with the first one, I want to change its color. Let's take this slider and take it all the way down. And the slider on the top exactly the same way. That makes the light turn green. On the second light, more or less the same process, except I want the left light to glow red. The other 2 will stay the same, except I'm going to scroll further down, find this option, and I'll type in 1.5. Why did I do this? Personally, it's just me. I personally like to set up everything that flies with the same kind of lighting as real-life aircraft. If it's your ship, you don't have to do this. This is just how I like to do it. And with that, the ship is officially done. Just a little bit more setup. She's fueled up and ready to go. First, let's set the batteries back to automatic, because if we disconnect Fender Base now, this thing will have no power, because the batteries are not giving power. So we're switching them back. We disconnect, and look. Mouse control, thruster control. We can even press E and Q to make the ship roll without crashing. W goes forwards. As for the other controls, S is backwards, D's to the right, A's to the left, spacebar is up, and C is down. That being told, let's now put this thing through its paces and finish the setup. Let's go here and do some spaceship mining. Let's hit G. Ignore the blocks in the first window. Instead, let's select tool blocks. Find the drill is the only option. And drag it to number 1. With this, the ship's drills now function like the hand drill. Left click for normal drilling. Right click for digging out faster. Let's dig down to the ore and see how much more we can get. Whoops, don't worry, the drills can take a beating. As you can see, both drills and the cockpit are full with ores. The connector too. Because all these things are conveyed together, the ship will be filled to the brim. One of the drills is not completely full yet. I'll dig a little bit more. Now the ship is completely full. Let's head back to the base, but be careful. Now that the ship is full of ores, it is a lot heavier. In fact, the ship is over 35 tons. If this was in Earth's gravity, it probably wouldn't be able to fly anymore. Let's make our approach. Let's be careful. We're a lot heavier now. Too sudden a bump and we could damage something. Line her up carefully with the connector. The magnet has engaged. Now hit free. And with that, the entire load of ore is being refined by the refinery. It'll take a while to go through, but it will get it done. Now that we're this far along, it's about high time we place the survival kit on the rover onto the base. So let's just do it. First the cargo container. But this is really risky. Once I ground down the survival kit, I don't have a respawn point anymore. If anything goes wrong, try over. Here we go. And apparently there was still something in the survival kit. Useless Scrabble. Now, we place the survival kit on the base. This is the small grid version, what we just removed from the rover. This is the large grid one. Except for steel plates, it is exactly the same cost. Let's put it down, get some more steel plate, and be done with it. Survival kit rebuilt onto the base. Worries are over. But now come to think of it, the rover can't attach to the base. And there's a nice cargo access back here. Let's fix that. Let's get in the rover and unpark. Go backwards and forwards so I can get to the back of the base. Realize the solar panels are going to get in the way, so we just take them off. And now you're wondering, how am I going to attach the rover to the base without a connector? Well, obviously I'm going to add one, but I'll show you what you can also do. For as you can see, there's a height difference. Even if I put a connector on the back, it won't be in proper alignment with any connector I will put on the base. So let's hollow out the rover and do some adjustments. First, let's take out some of the parts on the inside. Now I'm looking at the rover, I think I can reposition some parts. For example, this O2 generator can go behind the cockpit instead of that big junction. We can grind off the roof for a little remodeling. Okay, I fast forwarded this part to show you what I've done. The O2 generator is behind here. Attached to that is a conveyor frame. In between that, a cargo container. Another conveyor frame. And then finally, a connector. And where that O2 generator was before, I'll now place another battery. Now comes the fun part. A special connector system for the rover. We're going to begin with a hinge, conveyor parts, and a connector. First, we're going to place a large grid hinge, go into control panel, and add a medium head. To the medium head, we're going to add a conveyor frame and a big hinge for small grid. Realize you can't place it, so I need to move the rover out of the way. Add the small grid large hinge, and to that we attach a connector. Realize it's going to fall down. Build it all up. And now that it's all built up, let's set it up. To make it a little easier, let's use the search function and look for the hinges. There they are. And here are all the settings. Let's stick to velocity and make some adjustments. Rename this hinge to Kong for connector. Do the same for the 3x3 hinge. It always pays to rename a few blocks just to avoid confusion. Line it up. And now get back into the rover. Reset a few things, including handbrake here and switch lock for the connector here. And let's see if we can back up and connect. This thing is so annoyingly light. Come on. Line up. Line up. Line up. Good enough. Switch lock. And looky here. A custom subgrid adjustable connector. Nifty, isn't it? Let's go back to those hinges for the connector and set up some braking torque. And now we can also lift up the rover for next time. Next time we're going to be working on the rover, and in the process you'll also learn about rovers. You might be thinking, why should we learn about rovers? Well, you can make flying machines. Well, easy. Rovers can be fun. And this thing could use some adjustments. But that is for next time. Until next time.